A political bombshell in North Carolina tonight. State Representative Tricia Cotham, who won by 20 points as a Democrat in her blue district last fall, announcing at a press conference today she's now a Republican.
As long as I have been a Democrat, the Democrats have tried to be a big tent. But this now where we are, modern day Democratic Party, has become unrecognizable to me and to so many others throughout this state and this country. I'm no longer a Democrat, but I remain a public servant. That is what I am called to do. The party that best represents me and my principles and what's best for North Carolina is the Republican Party.
Her switch means that Republicans now have a veto-proof majority in the State House and the Senate. I'm back now with our panel. Also joining us, we have comedian and Princeton fellow Maysoon Zayed. Great to have you. Lauren, this is a fine how do you do for her voters who just voted for her a few months ago.
First of all, she was endorsed and paid for. Her campaign was supported and underwritten by organizations like Emily's List and the Human Rights Campaign. She represents a district that is over 60% Democrat.
And she was a long-time Democrat.
She's a long-time Democrat. I mean, this feels just so, I mean, listen, people are entitled to change their views, and I would never, I would never criticize that in another kind of situation, but she literally was just elected, and she was elected based on a set of understandings with her constituents and a career of service on the Democratic side. And in a state like North Carolina, where the margins are so critical, this is devastating for that community. There is no recall option in this state. The voters cannot get her back, even though she completely misrepresented herself. And I think, to me, this is a lot like the George Santos case. I mean, she completely pulled the wool over the eyes on her constituents. We're not talking about like a years-long evolution. It was like 3 months. She clearly had this planned.
Maysoon, here is what the governor of North Carolina, a Democrat, says is now on the line. Representative Cotham's votes on women's reproductive freedom, election laws, LGBTQ rights, strong public schools will determine the direction of the state we love. It's hard to believe she would abandon these long-held principles, and she should still vote the way she has always said she would vote when these issues arise, regardless of her party affiliation.
She's not going to vote the way that she said she was going to vote because she's not even representing her constituents. So you were talking about changing your mind. You can change your mind. But honestly, I think if you are elected as a Democrat, you have to serve as a Democrat. I know it's a little fun thing where we are all like, oh, Manchin's going to switch parties, and then all the majority switches and all the rules switch. That's not representative. You're representing the people. You're not representing yourself. You were voted in as a Democrat. You could actually vote however you want as a Democrat. You could vote against every bill you said you would support. But giving them the supermajority, that's got to be fraud. It's got to be a plot. And either it's a long game for 10 years or 3 months ago, somebody found something. Because you don't just wake up one day and go, no, I don't want equality. I want women to die.
She blamed emojis. That's my favorite part. That's really what set her
Let's talk
over the
about that. Here she is. Here's what she says was
That was
the
just a
tipping.
bridge too far.
This is what the tipping point was for her and why she switched.
One of the absolute worst moments, which was a deal breaker, a turning point for me, was when I was criticized for using the American flag and the praying hands emoji on all my social media platforms, and even on the back of different vehicles that I have. I really could not believe that was the conversation that was happening at that time. And I was deeply offended. To say that that is wrong and not to be able to show off a flag because the others hijack it for something else. Why are we at this place in politics?
Jessica.
I mean, I would just say I'm incredibly skeptical of that as a reason to change parties. I would also imagine there are plenty of people who are Christian or who like an American flag who are Democrats in North Carolina. I can't believe that's like a party decision kind of thing. I do think, I mean, her constituents must be incredibly concerned because Republicans now do have this veto-proof majority, and that means that all these issues that she publicly ran on, was endorsed by Emily's list, those are all at threat. And so I think they must be incredibly scared about what this means.
John, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, she's not the only Democrat who's concerned about the party being unrecognizable. You know, Joe Manchin's concerned. And the fact is the Democratic Party is not so much the liberal party, it's become an illiberal party that's increasingly intolerant of different views, you know, woke, cancel culture, and so on.
I mean, Joe Biden is hardly Mr. Woke.
Well, yeah, but that's actually a good example because look at Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Since 2016, I've argued that Donald Trump represents the GOP's personality crisis. Donald Trump is not policy. There's no Trumpism apart from the man. And Trump plagiarized Reagan and all of his policies, whereas Joe Biden is stealing ideas from Bernie Sanders. So Biden shows how the Democratic Party has veered to the left on energy and climate issues. The public is with the Republican view on H.R. 1, the Lower Energy Cost Act. They want permitting reform. They want more nuclear energy. They want an all of the above energy strategy.
But in terms of this, but let me
can't get that done because Marjorie Taylor
But hold on a second.
she's not representative
But in
of the
terms of this, do you think that this particular woman, Tricia Cotham, do you think that she has misled her voters, and do you think they have a right to be angry today?
I think voters always have a right to be angry. I think any politician has the right to change their mind, to change their affiliation, and those politicians will be held accountable in the next election. That's how our system of government works. But to not acknowledge, if you're a Democrat, that your party has problems, you're not dealing with reality.
Well, she didn't say, I mean, I hear you, but she didn't say that. She said it was because people were criticizing her for the American flag and praying hands emoji. And I just don't know, I wish she had said and explained if she meant on social media or her colleagues in the State House. So I don't know what she means when she says people criticized her.
Sorry, go ahead. No, please.
No, I also just have to push back on all of this and say, I'm looking at a woman who's crying about flags and emojis when we are women of color living in this country, getting death threats every single day, being told we don't belong here. I'm a Muslim. You want to talk about praying hands? I lived through a presidency that wanted to ban my family and ban me. So when we talk about, oh, it's not a big tent and it doesn't resemble, I don't know, I feel pretty comfortable and pretty safe around the Democratic Party, and I don't feel American, safe, or welcome around the GOP. So even though I feel her being like, oh, they didn't like my bumper sticker, that's why you're abandoning women's rights?
That comment describes why Donald Trump is such a toxic person, because the American idea is the opposite of everything you just described, is that our founders believed in freedom of religion and that your rights and your dignity does not depend on your religious affiliation, your ethnicity. That's the American idea. That's what our country was founded on.
The problem in North Carolina and in many states around the country is that it is essentially a tyranny of the minority. You have a state legislature that has supermajorities of Republicans in places where actually there is much closer to a 50-50 or a 40-60 split among the voters. It's not just there, it's in Kansas, it's in Wisconsin, it's all over the country where voters, and by the way, even Republican voters are saying they do not want extreme abortion bans. Yeah. It is the highest number measured in American history. 63% of Americans are saying abortion laws have gone too far. Republicans are not getting the memo. So in a place like North Carolina, this decision has deadly consequences for millions of women. And so it's not a joke. And to mock her voters by talking about emojis when her voters sent her there to protect their fundamental human rights, it's very disturbing. It's not about party. That's just pure rhetoric.
Quickly, Jen.
Yeah, and all I was going to say is just, when you're balancing everyone's right to their own bodily autonomy and whether or not you're going to get made fun of for prayer hands, it does feel like a silly conflation of those issues.
Okay, thank you all very much. Something for everyone.